I read something this week and I was like, thank God, I know someone who lives in Australia, because I can get some sorting out of this. I know a little bit of what's being said here. I know it's English, but I wanna come over here and I'm gonna read something to you, Matt Ray, and I want you to give me kind of a maybe not word for word, but a translation of what's going on here.
An English to English translation?
Yes, please, English to English. That would be great if you could go to Google Translate and I'll have to check this and select, American English to Scottish English and Scottish English to all these things.
Putting it in the boot, the lift, the lorry.
All right. So the context is there's this guy's newsletter I read, and he walks around a lot and writes about it. He was traveling in Australia, did very, very nice. He loves Australia, Matt Ray. He thinks Sydney's great. He likes going around. Anyways, so he said he was in Alice Springs.
Yep.
Is that a place?
Smack dab in the middle. Yep.
So he was so he wrote this. I think he came up with this, but he's like, this is kind of what you hear out here. He said, the truckie eating brekkie at the servo wearing his footy kit and thongs is a FIFO headed to the bottle-o. And so I know what some of those things mean, but I want to get a sense of what's going on there. So the truckie, what is a truckie?
Truck driver.
Okay. And then eating, I know what that is, I assume.
It's still English. Good.
No translation needed.
I'm guessing brekkie is breakfast.
Absolutely.
But, okay, what is a servo?
I guess like a gas station.
Like a service station.
Yeah, like a service station. Yeah.
Okay, now I had a guess about footy kit, but what do you reckon that is?
Just like a sports jersey, like soccer. They do call it soccer here because we have Australian football.
Oh yeah. So now would that be what I think the Europeans would call a tracksuit, or is that different?
Maybe, but to me, I don't know, because I think a footy kit implies like an actual jersey looking thing with like sponsors and a player's name or something. But I could be wrong.
Okay, let's have a little parenthetical here. Do you push the stack or pop it? I forget, but I guess you could do both. But is there a tracksuit culture in Australia where they wear the full on like Adidas tracksuit thing?
Yes, there is. Yes.
Now it's been a while since both you and I have lived in America, but I feel like, Brandon, in America, not so much a tracksuit culture, at least 7-8 years ago. But how is
it's regional,
nowadays?
Of course. You have the stereotypical New Jersey,
okay,
monster look. But certainly, in Texas, it's just as you all
it's too hot.
As you all know, everything like the uniform is shorts. Like you have to go out and meet someone nice, you put on your nice shorts. It's which is of course completely foreign to Europeans. Like, why would you be wearing shorts? It's like, well, it's hot and we find it more comfortable. But anyway, continue on. I didn't mean to digress.
As one of my favorite fine clothing store radio ads used to say on KUT, like, Austin, where the women dress for a formal dinner and the men dress to mow the lawn.
True. Can confirm.
Oh, all right. So, yeah, I mean, tracksuits. Okay, that's an interesting. We should put that aside. Maybe some people can tell us about tracksuit culture.
You know what we need? Software-defined talk tracksuits.
Yeah, maybe
they'll sell like hotcake.
Yeah, we also need a channel in the. Do we have a fashion channel in our Slack?
Oh, that'll be a lonely place.
No, we don't. Surprisingly, that's not been a topic we've needed its own channel.
Huh? Maybe it'll just be like questions, like what is fashion? Is this acceptable? All right. Now I think a thong is a flip flop, right?
Yes.
Okay. That's good. Now I actually know what this is since I read the article, but okay. FIFO. What FIFO? What is that? Is that a term people use all the time?
It is, like, because Australia has like an outback mining culture. There are people who fly in, fly out for their jobs, and so it's not typically like Sydney, but when I traveled like to Perth or Northern Territory and stuff, they're tradies. Who work in these remote locations where they fly in Monday morning and they fly out Friday afternoon. And if you go into like the Qantas first class lounge, it's full of guys in construction equipment.
in footy kits and thongs.
Some of them are still wearing like their their rugged boots and
I see.
jackets and
So
I think they've
these are like
taken the headlamps off, but
these are the people at the airport who mysteriously have a hard hat with them. I see
Yes.
that. I don't see that so much in Europe, but I remember in the US I would see that all the time and like
all the time. Wow.
well, a lot.
Yeah, you definitely see it in the rural airports.
I guess when I was growing up, if you were to ask me, will you see people in the airport traveling with hard hats? I would say no. I don't think I will see that. But as an adult, there they
Cowboy
are.
boots. Yes.
Yeah, they got okay. So, it's kind of like management consultants, except they leave on Friday instead of Thursday.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Maybe they go out Thursday night. I don't know what they're doing, but yeah, the airports are full of them on the Monday, Friday.
All right. So what we've built up here is we've got someone who maybe is doing some mining, and they're driving a truck, like probably a big truck back and forth to move supplies around.
Yeah.
And so they're
land trains.
Do you say FIFO or FIFO?
I don't know. I mean, I don't think I've seen it out. I mean, I know what it is, so I'm gonna go with FIFO because it's flyfo. I don't know, but I could be totally wrong.
Okay, and then heading to, I understand that presumably.
Yes.
But then a bottle-o. What's a bottle-o?
It's a bottle shop, a liquor store.
Oh, okay. And now are those state run? So they're all bottle shops, or okay?
Not in my state. There's there's a couple of big chains that are tied to the like two big grocery store chains, and so the bottle-os are there's one in every small town.
The bottle-o. So do you talk like this? Are you like you're like New Year's Eve is coming up. I got to go to the bottle-o.
I don't. The few words that I have added to my lexicon are tradies. Just generally that's a useful one, and I've got at least one a week right now. Sometimes 5. But
so here, let me give you here's the full ChatGPT translated sentence in American English.
Okay,
it translates the following: the truck driver eating breakfast at the gas station, wearing his soccer/football uniform and flip flops, is a fly-in, fly-out worker heading to the liquor store.
There you go.
It's a perfectly fine sentence, and actually. It is shorter in Australian English. I will say that. But it tends to just blend together. It has like a Spanish flavor too.
They are very concise people.
It just sort of like it just kind of comes off together. Not so many pauses between words.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's great. And now I've realized that we've gone through this. There's a story being told here that's interesting. You've got the FIFO or FIFO person, right? So they're they're working this job. They're having breakfast, and also, the narrator knows this for some reason. They know that like breakfast is just the first stop in the day, and right after breakfast they're going to the liquor store, and so like instantly you've got some, I don't know if that's brunch or if they're just planning for later on.
It's
or like is this before they go drive the truck, or were they on the night shift driving a truck?
I don't know.
What's going on here?
Yeah, it's a regular Faulkner novel here.
I was gonna say you could sell this as a Christopher Nolan movie, just right here. Like this is the
opening scene.
The opening scene. Like he would just send this in and be like, "Yep, I've got enough here. I can make an entire movie out of this line." So there you go.
The truculent trucko.
Now, one last question, regional question. Now, Brandon, up there in Maryland, what do they call thongs flip flops? Like, do you have a particular name for that in that part of the country?
No, I think it would just be flip flops. Obviously, you could do slides if they were just sort of, without the
slides,
the flip, without the soccer style, right? But no, flip flops is I don't know of any. I'm sure there are other regional words in the United States for it, but I don't know any off the top of my head.
No, I think that's the 3. I've heard flip flops, thongs. And I'd forgotten about it, but I hear slides every now and then. I think we need one of those maps that color codes the country based on what people say. I'm sure in Michigan they call them like flat stickies or something like that.
There's like that little county in Iowa that's like, they're foot flappers.
Well, On the topic of Australia, I'm looking forward. I was looking forward to this week because I haven't read that much about the new hot trend in Australian tech companies, which is owning web browsers. And I know, Brandon, you're always up to speed on these things. So I want to just, I saw it looks like Atlassian,
Yep,
famous
Australia's biggest
Australian
software
tech
company. Yeah.
Yeah. And also, like, you got Jira, and they have other fine products that they do. But that's what I hear the most about them. They're helping. If software runs the world, they're helping build the thing that runs the world. Very well used tool. But they bought the browser company for $610 million. Sounds
Makers
like
of probably
a good
makers of
deal.
Arc, which probably some people listening have used, and then what?
I've used
Dia, the other one. I guess Arc
Yeah.
is not as pop. I don't know. Arc
They're
isn't getting
winding
as
it
much support anymore, so now it's Dia.
Reimagining the web experience or something. I'm guessing. But so what I want to know, Brandon, because I know you've looked into this, is I don't get it. Like, why? How? What is the synergy between a Jira and a web browser?
Yeah, I read a bunch of things, and I don't think there's anything to get here. I don't. I guess the most plausible explanation, I guess, is something to the effect of, because Jira is obviously a very popular SaaS app. Probably many people here have a love-hate relationship that are listening to this episode right now. I guess Atlassian is putting forth, like, okay, we want to make sure that we can have secure browsers that provide a great SaaS experience that are not basically Google Chrome, right? I mean, that's kind of what it comes down to.
Okay.
So I guess that's the impetus behind this, is that, like, there are large companies that want to have this. And I've seen some of this, like there are occasionally I've run into these. Well, they'll have like a really locked down browser, kind of like a school or like a very, a site where they don't want anyone doing anything, right? It's just like, you can only use this. So you could do, so I guess you could say something along those lines, but like, I just still don't get it. Like, why Atlassian needs, I guess maybe the classic, acquisition question, right? Cote, this is your old world. It was just sort of like, okay, why is this company more valuable today? Because it owns this browser. Like, I don't think I haven't think of anything. It's kind of, it's either a push or it's less. So it's going to be a drain, right? Like, I don't see how Atlassian would make more money. I don't see why the browser company will do better because they're inside of Atlassian. Like, why would you not just fund them to, to do something more agnostic? Why
didn't Atlassian just take an open source browser, because they're all open source, and do what they wanted to it, for 200 million?
Now, I think like you could convince me of sort of like, it is an interesting idea, like a real big idea. And this is why I think it probably would be better to live as a venture capitalist company for a while longer. It was sort of like, well, with AI, like someone rethinking the browser, right? That's always like kind of a holy grail kind of question, is like, could we ever break out of this thing? If we were to start over, would we build the browser the way it is today? Certainly not, right? The browser's become an HTML and the presentation layer. It's like, it's pretty complicated. We wouldn't build it this way today. Now, so someone could be like, hey, I want to put forth a new idea and I want to like really shake things up. I mean, I like the problem space. I'm not saying it would be easy to disrupt it, but like, I don't know why Atlassian is the place that's going to do that, right? Like, it feels like that's like two completely different businesses, right? Like, Atlassian is like, I'm opening tickets in Jira, right? And that's...
Yeah, I mean, maybe if you look at it as from the corporate secure browser angle, so Atlassian's they've got Bitbucket for your source code. They've got, they've got Jira. They've got, they bought some workflow thing that they rolled back into Jira. But if you squint, maybe you see like, what if this is some sort of, secure desktop, secure browser morphs into secure coding thing? If they go around, if their next move is they buy like whatever the name of the company was, Gitpod, they renamed themselves to something recently, and they're focused on like the AI coding experience, but they were doing that like developer workspaces thing with containers. So maybe if you have like, you've got your secure browser, your secure developer environment, you've got your big SaaS business of source code hosting, throw in some CI/CD. Maybe they think they can lock that market up.
Oh,
I don't know. I'm
I
just
like
kind of throwing that out there. That's where I could
I-
see this trying to go.
I like where you're going. I think you're getting to Brandon's favorite M&A mechanic, the string of pearls. And maybe this is just the first pearl, and they're going to build out a whole like new business. Like you're saying, kind of more in the closer to the developer. You kind of need a toolkit for stuff. I don't know, maybe automated testing and stuff like we used to work on.
Yeah.
Like you do all sorts of things here, and then there's also, as you two were saying, we depend on a web browser for our all of our money, right? Like we by nature of being a web-based thing for most of how we do stuff, there needs to be a web browser. But then, as you said, well, there's lots of them. You could just use the open source thing. So it's
I did think of it.
Yeah.
I was trying to come up with like the acquisition that could take a little bit. This involves your company, but like long before I think you were there. It's like, I don't know, for whatever reason, I just came to mind that, VMware bought SlideRocket. I don't know if you guys remember this. This was back in 2011. They bought a couple of things. And at the time I was like, why? Like, what's going on? Like, why does VMware need to build presentations? So first of all, I now learned SlideRocket is now ClearSlide. So it still does exist. So I don't know what happened there, but I don't know. I just think sometimes it's just I just feel like you get a group of founders, you get some people that's had some success in a room. They got some extra money, right? They want to do something big. And I just feel like they just come up with these ideas. And it's like we could sit here probably for a whole hour and come up with possible scenarios it would work. But I would say the likelihood any of this hits is very low, right? But I don't know. I just think maybe you just convince yourself, hey, we did it with Jira. No one believed in us. What was it before Jira? What were we all using? Bugzilla. I don't know. Whatever it was. It's it's you know what? No one believed in us, and we did it. And we're gonna do it again. And I'm like, I don't think so. I think things have changed, and I think what you're doing here is you were better off to just invest in it. That's I guess my biggest thing. Leave it out there. Let it try to run its course. Let it try to do the big next thing. Maybe it'll work. Maybe it'll fail. But give it a chance. Like SlideRocket today, we're still using PowerPoint. I have not run across SlideRocket at all. So I feel like this is, 5 years, we're going to be using the browser company acquisition as the example of the thing that probably didn't fit.
I think about that SlideRocket era a lot. And there was also, they had a whole, I don't know if I was at the keynote of VMworld. I would have been maybe at RedMonk. I probably would have been at RedMonk at the time. Yeah. And there was a whole, it was the Vision keynote on day 2 or whatever with the CTO. I forget their name. And they had a Dropbox competitor that they were working on. They had SlideRocket, and they owned an email server at some point.
Zimbra. Yeah. I'm looking through their acquisitions Zimbra, SlideRocket, SocialCast.
So they had assembled these let's call them productivity apps. They were doing
they were cloud productivity apps is what their
exactly
big thing was, right?
And so they were doing we're going to be the next Microsoft Office thing that I think previously you would remember because you were there. I think Sun went for that too.
Yeah,
they tried to get email, and they had Open Office, so they tried to
Open Office
that
for a while. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. And I don't really I never really tracked the unwinding of that stuff at VMware. Obviously it was unwound at some point, but it's making me think as I'm reliving the 2011s. I guess there's only one 2011, but I think the only other time that a company has tried to make a run, well, I guess by that time Google had made its own office. Google Docs was popular.
Google Docs, yep.
So that actually worked.
Zimbra lasted a hot minute. Yeah, I did remember seeing it in the wild.
And here's my question for y'all's memory is I think the only other time that's happened since then is maybe Zoom in the past couple of years who wanted to replicate Office, but I think we would have covered it in this podcast, but and then Dropbox. Yeah. I think we've stated this before, but if what you're coming out with in your strategy planning is to replicate Office, go to bed and come back tomorrow and start over again.
Have a big breakfast.
Have a brekkie on the way to the bottle.
Maybe we should throw it out to the listeners. Has I don't know how we would call it. It's almost like the adjacent acquisition, the audacious adjacent acquisition. Has it actually worked before? Or someone's like, yeah, we're doing pretty well on this, but we're gonna buy this other thing and we're gonna make it like, whatever. We're gonna become the company known for this. Like it's gonna actually subsume our other business. I can't think of anything like off the top of my head. But that would be an interesting question, like that, because I don't know, maybe it has worked. Maybe I'm just like missing it.
I mean, looking through VMware's pre-Broadcom acquisitions, there's I just got maybe 20, and you can see like features in their other products. There are a couple of duds, but there's some big successes in there. There's like Nicira, obviously that worked out well. There's Pivotal.
There you go.
I mean, I assume that was considered pretty good, but most of the stuff is feature, there's things that look good in the.
Those seem pretty related, though. I don't know.
Pretty related, but so I guess they're not really. They're not really just changing strategies that hardcore.
Maybe like Microsoft, LinkedIn, like I don't know. Yeah. I mean, they bought
Microsoft
LinkedIn,
GitHub.
Still.
Yeah. Well, what came to mind? Like, and then there was also there was Skype, which is hard to tell what was up with that.
Yeah.
But that was
Do we consider that a win or a loss? That's a good
Motorola.
Question. Yeah.
Yeah.
Motorola by Google. It lasted a while.
And then Microsoft bought Nokia. That was also exciting.
But man, I wanted to ask you. You have a good, like thinking ahead. Is like, is it now the time? If let's just put aside this acquisition. In fact, we would use this acquisition to make our pitch to the VCs. Like, listen, browser company's been bought. We're never going to hear about them again. They're going to be over there in Australia. They're going to be trying to integrate with Jira. Okay, we're going to rethink how people should interact with the internet. We're going to build. I don't want to say next generation. We're going to build a new way. We're going to replace the existing browser in a more meaningful way. And now is the time. We should get rid of all this crazy HTML, JavaScript, godforsaken thing. And we're going to build a better way. And this is it. And like no one believes in us, just like no one believed in Mark Andreessen back in the day. We're going to do it. We're going to build the thing. Like, Do you think now is the time? Is now the time to like give it a chance? Is to be like, yeah, let's do it. Let's go for it.
No. Now's the time to be a fast follower for the browser company. Get a hold of their pitch deck. Figure out what they were doing. Go raise some money. Go raise $100 million and get acquired for $200 million. I think that's the plan right now. Is you look at whatever there were people rumbling about acquiring Chrome for $34 billion.
It's true.
I think you look at Chrome, you look at the browser company, and you say, well, why not us too, right? And because, it's like all these AI IDEs, it's like, it's not hard to start one, right? Most of the scaffolding's already done. You're just putting on a different facade on the front. The engine's there. I don't think you need to rethink, how the web works. It's too late. That ship sailed, right? You're not going to be like, check it out.
So I'm not doing a good job. I'm not giving you the pitch because that's like the center to the pitch is like HTML is holding us back. I'm going to going to break loose from this godforsaken HTML, JavaScript, CSS hell that we're in. There's a new browser way forward. And then people like I have like Braveheart behind me. I have like a whole team of people running out. It's like no one's with me. Sounds like I'm by myself.
I think that is a lonely hill to die on. I think the hill you want to die on is workflows. I need AI to help me think smarter. I've got too many browser tabs. I want to pull this all together. And,
right.
I think that's the pitch there. You rub some secure stuff on it. You talk about having like I think there's a play here. I don't think it's a $34 billion play, but I think it is like a fast track to an acquisition play where somebody's like, you know what, we need that too, and.
So maybe this is like a correlated to like the new programming language. I was reading something. I don't know. Maybe we didn't talk about it last week, but somebody was like, "Oh, Rust is gonna like replace like C. C's dead, right?" I think we mentioned it briefly, right? And it's like, probably not. You know what? Like many languages has come. No one has succeeded. It's not, but everyone that like writes C is like it's pretty hard. Yeah, and you can make a lot of errors, and there's a lot of insecure things. But then we're like, you know what we should do? We should probably just keep doing that. Like, there's never like anything you can. you can do this. I don't know. Maybe it's the same with the browser. Like, I don't, maybe our grandchildren will be like, man, we're still stuck with this HTML. It's like, Jesus. Well, who was thinking when this, like, can't we get away from this stuff?
JavaScript.
I don't think you're getting away from that. Because, you just can't convince everyone to switch off to something else. And they're on like what, HTML5, 6, 7? I don't know.
Well, the closest thing I can come up with that
I think
has
they had
happened.
to stop counting. No one cares anymore.
I was gonna say the closest thing that has happened is you had the rise of Android and iOS, which are kind of like their own ecosystems. But really, when you go look at those apps, they are kind of just a different way of like browsing network applications. So
yeah.
And of course they're closed source, and of course there's like ecosystem stuff like that. But you could kind of see like it kind of did happen, right? Like usually a native mobile app is almost always better than the web app on the thing. So it's like, could someone apply that same logic and be like,
but Java already tried this, right? They already tried to give a swing.
Matt, the list of people who've tried this is millions. It's like the programming languages. It's like every language has tried to replace C, but yet here we are still writing most.
Well, you bring up a good point, Brandon. I mean, there was a time when there was a debate between native web native applications and native mobile applications.
Right. The first, famously,
Big
right?
discussion,
that was the Steve Jobs thing. It's
and
like,
it continues to this day, right?
You would just use what they call them, progressive web apps. Like there's just basically you're just going to use a web app on your thing, and everyone's like, "Nah, that's not what we want. We actually want apps." So well, good luck. I guess what to say. Good luck to our Australian friends, Atlassian. Maybe they'll be the ones to carry it forward. I believe in you. Actually, I don't believe in you, Atlassian, but maybe someone else. Someone else is hearing this and they're like, no, I'm going to build the next thing. I'm going to free the world from HTML as we know today. And I wish that person the best of luck in their endeavors.
Well, I don't know the internals of Atlassian or anything, but my other thought was like, sometimes you just like buy something cool if you can. And maybe the executive team there is like, I like that browser. Let's buy it. And it's kind of like Elon Musk buying Twitter. He's just like, this is my favorite app. I'm going to buy this.
Now I can get behind. Maybe we just kind of call these YOLO acquisitions. It's like, fine, I'm just going to YOLO this. I mean, that's the business case. Like, I don't know. It's cool. Let's see what happens.
I like that.
Fine, roll with it.
M&A by gut feel. It's like, I like the cut of that.
I can get behind that where it's just like, I don't know. I don't have all the questions and answers. Let's just try it. Okay. So how can I argue with that? Like, fine. Good with me.
Yeah. That's what we're gonna do with that 610 million. Anyways, we're just gonna do what our gut tells us. So
what were they gonna do with it anyway?
In one swoop, all at once, take care of it. Yeah. All right. Well, the other thing, there's an interview with the Cloudflare CEO, which I like. I record this podcast at 10:30 p.m. and sometimes I need to have a little nap. And I was finishing up listening to the interview. And then I was awakened by the end of the Stratechery jingle at the end, where he says, occasional forwarding is totally acceptable.
Totally.
So
right.
I missed the last part, but I have to say it's Matthew Prince. It seems like both in reading the transcript and listening to him, seems like a totally chill guy. It's very, very interesting. Apparently he comes from Utah. And his dad owned the only Hooters in Utah. And I think this I don't know if this is true, but I feel like this might be the only Hooters adjacent tech story that I've heard. I feel it is good part there. But my first question, and then I want to get into the whole point, is like, as we used to call it, I think, what do we call it, Matt Ray? Micropayments? I think it's what's being kicked around there. Is I want to run this through our decades of experience observing the tech culture. Like, how does one, what did this guy do? He seems to be pretty relaxed, and he just kind of bounced around between various schools because he didn't want to run his dad's Hooters. And all of a sudden, he's the CEO of Cloudflare after.
Did you sleep through that part of the story, Cote?
Yeah. I mean, it seems like he just was lucky, and he doesn't have that. At least in talking, some of the people that you interview, these tech CEOs, and you can tell you're kind of a hard charger, and you've got some theories about life that I don't know what's going on here.
Okay, but let's do it then. Let's delve into the backstory, because I've listened to it all, and it's like, one, as we get to this idea, I actually, having heard it all out, I was like, I was more convinced this time, listening to him. But like in his backstory, I think the things we can pick off is like he makes it sound like, I was just doing nothing. So one, the background is he basically started a company, did some networking. That's where he got some expertise in that. And then he goes on to say that like, he did some coding in high school, right? But then he kind of like glosses over the fact that obviously he was super smart, gets to college, and he's like, I majored in like, I think English literature, right? Is what he says, right? So,
Sure.
okay. And then he starts this company, but he kind of just plays it off like it's nothing. So it's like, one, I think that was a lot of work, right? So I don't think that's like a laid back guy. Like I think he's clearly doing something there. Okay.
All
Then
right,
two, then he goes to law school, but he makes it sound like it's no big deal. I just went to law school. But again, like to get into law school, like it takes effort. Like you had to fill out applications, you had to get recommendations. He goes on to like not only become a lawyer, but then he kind of jokes about like I was a law professor, but the law school doesn't exist. It kind of makes it sound like I was just like at some Johnny fly by night. I'm like, I don't know, to become a law professor, even at like a quote unquote bad law school, again, you're probably pretty smart, right? And he also casually drops in. It's like, well, I also just taught LSAT prep, which just means this guy is the guy that got 180 on the LSAT, right? He just clearly walked in like, I can do this whole thing. Okay, and then he says, this is the part I thought was great. And he says something like, my dad called me, said, hey, I need you to come home and run the family business. And he says, I don't want to do that. And he makes it sound like the call happened on a Friday. And then he's like, well, you know what I did? I decided I needed to apply to business schools. And he says, I applied to 8 business schools the night before, and I only got into one. Which one did he get into? Only most people consider the best business school in the world, Harvard Business School. Now, do we really believe he applied the night before? Because we all know it takes like significant recommendations to get into this kind of school, right? Like you can't just show up with a good GMAT score and just walk your way in. At least I don't think so. So like I feel like there's like lots of stuff that's left out. Like to get into Harvard Business School,
okay.
I think he was cultivating a bunch of stuff. Then he gets to Harvard Business School and he says, well, everyone's sort of like, I kind of developed a relationship with Clayton Christensen, like only maybe the most influential Harvard Business School professor of like, I don't know, the last 20 years with his disruption book. But he makes it sound like I was just a good student. But then he goes on to say like his professor acknowledged them as like you've been a college professor before and you know this stuff. So like maybe, don't ask hard questions in class. But again, like he plays all of this off as like very like everyman. And I'm like, I think all of these achievements took an incredible amount of work and planning. I don't think this just happened. So I was sort of like the origin story. I'm like, I'm not really buying much of like, I didn't know what I was doing. I'm like, I think you knew exactly kind of what you're doing. So I don't know. Am I too harsh on that?
So there's some softening of all of the effort that went in there. Just some kind of bouncing around on it. Yeah. I mean, I think you make a compelling case that one doesn't just like accidentally stumble into a room one day and you're at Harvard Business School, or as he said, just you don't just accidentally piss away $6 million in Series A funding,
right?
Your first startup. Yeah. All right. I could see that. Now, okay. So I was building up my energy to do this podcast. I think right when they got to discussing the micropayments thing, and like first of all, like what's the proposal for the micropayment stuff they want to do? What's the mechanics of it?
They want to essentially like slow down the rapacious web crawling of the AI bots. I mean, because people have had robots text in their websites forever saying, oh, don't index this or stay away from this. And like, those are just getting kind of universally ignored. And so Cloudflare and, a couple other projects and stuff have tried to put additional intervention layers to like slow down because a lot of these sites are getting scraped, every hour or, right. I mean, a large, I've seen reports that say like half of internet traffic is AI now, which just seems ridiculous, but maybe it's true. Where they're just scraping everything they can and consuming it again and again and again. And so his idea is like, look, once you have to pay for that privilege, and we will share that with whatever's getting scraped with indexed. And we'll make a service out of that to block them if they're not going to if they're not going to.
Yeah, and I think the difference though from the micropayments thing that we've always like, there's always a dream. Is like I go read an article and I pay like half a cent or something like that. It's like, I mean, he's clearly putting forth the idea of pay per crawl, right? It's sort of like, hey, if you want to crawl our site, it costs costs some amount of money, and of course, like not everyone can negotiate, direct relationships. So in this case, they would be, in this case, Cloudflare would be the middleman and be like, okay, we'll negotiate on behalf of everyone, right? Like sort of like there's going to be some cost. If you want to do it, then you got now the part like I've been skeptical about is like, I don't know, like, do we need another middle person, on the internet, another kind of gatekeeper? But I did, having listened to it more, I was compelled. I thought like he had that, because I think I took him at his word. He's like, listen, maybe it's not Cloudflare, or maybe it's a consortium, maybe it's something else. But his point is like this needs to be the way out, right? This is the way out because this is a way that if you can ultimately find some way to pay people for content, right? It allows content to keep being created, right? And that's kind of like, and he kind of does say like ultimately, this is kind of a decision of Google, right? Because Google is the one that sort of controls the majority of traffic to various sites that get revenue. So like, really for this to work, you need like maybe Google, Cloudflare, maybe a couple others to be like, okay, we are going to have a pay-per-crawl system, kind of like the music, right? How there's like music labels and you can license the music, and you have Spotify and iTunes or Apple Music, etc. So I was like that. I mean, I get where he's coming from. It's like, okay, this is maybe like, we kind of said that no one wants to take on the browser thing, but like maybe we do have to take on this content thing, because is it kind of like, as Matt likes to say, like, as all content goes to slop and like no one's getting any ad revenue because there's like nothing left. Like maybe that's the only reason, but like we have to like eventually come up with a new model so that people could get paid something for the content they're produced.
And Cloudflare has been kind of on the side of the internet usually. They were one of the like few companies early on to start really calling out Amazon on their egress charges on their network stuff, and they did form a consortium of open access of like vendors who were not going to charge 10,000x the cost of network transmission. And I think Oracle's on that list, and I think they've paired with a couple of other providers to be like, look, this bandwidth stuff, it's not expensive. Why are they charging that? And so, and they've, good or bad, been usually on the side of like more internet freedom is good. Providing DDoS protection to unsavory elements at times, and that's been their thing. Is like, let's just keep this thing open and useful. And so I feel like it's, you don't always have to agree with it, but it seems to be coming from a better place than like, oh, let's just, find a way to scrape more money out of people. It's like, let's try to, fix things before they get even worse.
And I think
there was a
point. I was gonna say, just if you want to see one data point of like, okay, could it work? Because that's always the whole idea. Is like, it's always like Anthropic did agree to pay in a settlement for a lawsuit, and they're paying $1.5 billion to book authors. So they basically read the books in the AI, and so it's not like when you do the math, like the book author is only going to get I don't know, a couple $1,000. So it's not like a ton of money, but like it's the least example of like someone did get paid. So there is money, I guess. There is like money to fuel this. So go ahead, Kote.
It was also as Matt is saying, it was kind of refreshing to read some tech CEO who's like kind of worried about the culture going bad, instead of like artificial intelligence taking over humanity, or like blood transfusions or Mars or some bullshit. It's just sort of like, yeah, if you don't pay for all these journalists, journalism dies, and then we have nothing. Which yeah. It does. I guess overall, the very general point is like, and maybe with the I don't know, criminology of the Google ruling, and like how Google kind of like spreads this money around stuff. It does beg the question of like, maybe we should be paying for more stuff. Right? like we get all this. Like I was thinking, there is a huge benefit to all the free stuff we as consumers get in the web. Like Wikipedia on its own is great, and they certainly make it well known that they would like to have more money. They're pretty good at telling you about that. But it is there is something odd with we got to start paying for this stuff at some
But we
point.
should be careful though. Like I like it. I like the idea, but we should be careful. A little strategy credit going here. This strategy does perfectly align with what Cloudflare does.
Oh
It's
yeah,
always
yeah,
like
yeah.
we have to be very careful. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you know, and again, I thought he was very genuine on the podcast. I really did. I bought in. I believed it. But I was just like, at the same time, I'm like, it's like trust but verify. It's like, okay, you know, but maybe we don't. It's not. We can't just make this a Cloudflare thing. We got to make it somehow. We got a lot of people involved, and we're not beholden to just one thing. So that's kind of where we are
Right.
today. It's
Well-
like Google controls kind of all the search traffic. So it's like,
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
you
It's not
you
going
can
so
see the conflicts of interest because they compete with Amazon, they compete with Google, they compete
Yeah.
with Microsoft, but also it's like their business is by providing a quality internet experience to, you know, Wikipedia says 150,000 plus customers. So, you know, 20% of the internet's going through Cloudflare. So their business is like, let's have a working, stable internet that's, you know, useful for everybody.
yeah.
No,
So
that-
instead of a
that's
different
great.
way, they're the perfect ones to solve it because they're there, right? You know, it's like it's like
and-
benevolent dictator for life. You know, it's like I don't know. It's like benevolence always doing a
Well,
lot of
that's
work.
the thing. It's like,
It's doing
I
a
don't
lot of
want,
work.
I don't want a single dictator. I want, you know, I want competition. I want there to be like, you know, friction for like, oh, well, we're all in on one vendor for everything on the internet. It's like that leads to bad places.
Yeah.
Now this brings up my other question, right? Now I assume they're not just proposing like another fucking text file on the root directory that
Probably
you're
not.
gonna have. So like I don't really I barely know what Cloudflare, like what all of their different products are, but like what technically, like what are they talking about doing and why would they be able to do it? Like what is, they must be controlling something that would allow them to intercept this traffic and enforce.
That's exactly what they
something.
do. Right. They I think they got their start doing DDoS protection. So, you know, they're providing DNS and you know, mapping for the internet. They tell things, you know, where to go to find things, and people use them because, you know, they provide that edge service. So when you say, I want to go to, you know, your favorite author's website, Cloudflare is going to answer that and say like, oh, I see you're coming from Cote's web browser, let them through. And then they'll be watching all the internet traffic and they'll say, oh, I see you're coming from, you know, an army of bots run by OpenAI. You're going to hit the turnstile and you're going to have to pay.
So let's walk through this briefly. So I'm the proprietor of Cote.io, which you can go to see lists of all sorts of stuff that I do, and my blog. I don't know if anyone reads it.
Newsletter.
That's fine. I don't. Yeah, newsletter. So I'm over at Microblog. You know, I'm hosting it. Love what the Manton's doing there. Good stuff down there from Austin. Now I want to use. For some reason I need to use Cloudflare. What am I going to do?
You're not going to do anything. Your hosting provider's probably using them to, you know, to watch their traffic. And if somebody on the internet's like,
are they installing something on some rack somewhere, or do they just like use Cloudflare for DNS? And so when it gets looked up, first it goes to Cloudflare, and Cloudflare is like, hey, who's asking? And then if they like it, then they send it to Cote.io.
Yeah. So when somebody says, I want to go to Cote.io, your service provider is like, hey, Cloudflare, you're going to manage Cote.io for us. And, you know, people show up and it's like, yep, going through. And then all of a sudden, you know, 100,000 spam bots decide that they don't want Cote.io on the internet. They all start trying to hit you. And, you know, Cloudflare's like, no, he's over there. Go look in dev null. And they keep your site up on the internet. That's what they do.
I see.
So
So
just think of
they're
it more
the
simply, it's
DNS
just-
provider.
Well, no, I think content delivery and DNS. So it's sort of like,
Yeah, okay.
so probably
So they also do that.
Your blog,
Yeah.
I mean, in most cases, like the request isn't going to go back to like the microblog server. I mean, maybe in different times, but like for the most part, like all of this will be cached, put out there.
Right.
So that way, like if there's a big spike in traffic, Cloudflare sits in front of it, protects microblog from doing, you know, having to like do all that stuff, and then, you know, everybody's happy. So they're in the perfect place to be like, okay, we see the request coming in, and we see that you're whatever, a nefarious person that's crawling all the internet. And if you keep doing that, we're either gonna stop you or you have to pay money. And that's because they're already doing that.
So then the way they know about the bad ones is I assume at this point there's kind of like a flywheel thing that if you control 20% of the internet's traffic, you know how to figure out when new people come.
Yeah.
That's probably sufficient. But initially, like, what do? You go on the dark web and you use some Bitcoin to buy some stuff so that you see that initial list. Like, how are you figuring out who the bad people are?
You just learn from watching them. Every time they take down a site, you like, oh, this is the playbook they ran. And so next time they come in, they try the playbook, it gets denied. And so it's just a constant, cat and mouse of internet.
So this is their history. This is what they've been doing to look at are you a bad actor? Are you like a security or a denial of service attack? So they've been doing this for a long time. So now they can just go, it's like, well, technically you're not a denial of service attack. You're a scraping, you're a high volume scraper. So now, and this is kind of the gray area we're in, right? It's like, okay, well, they could, they have already in some cases kind of said, we're going to turn some of these people off. But but of course, the people that are being turned off are feeling this is totally legitimate what we're doing. Like, we know just scraping a website is not a DNS. So this is kind of where we get in the gray area. It's like, well, this Cloudflare has a lot of power. They could just start turning people off. And do we want that? And then maybe we get into the fact of like, okay, well, they're like, you got to pay. And one of them like, well, I don't think we should have to pay. So this is going to be like the difficult conversation going forward.
So if I remember, they would propose like some sort of like, I don't know how DNS works. I don't know if anyone does, but like, and CDNs and stuff, but like there would be some transmission of like, all right, so you're OpenAI, you're coming in here to like get that great content from Cote.io. Yeah. And like before we know you're OpenAI. So we're going to look up, and there's probably, we're going to look up if you paid us. And if you haven't paid us, we tell you no. But if you have paid us, then we kind of log maybe that it happened, unless you've got a flat rate. And then there's some money that is accounted for. And eventually I get like 2 cents or whatever the equivalent.
Right. That's kind of the theory that is being proposed. But like no one's worked out the details. So it's just sort of like, well, so. But it seems like it's worth like, I don't know. It would be interesting for someone to try it, right? Like kind of said, like maybe it's like a YOLO. Again, back to the YOLO kind of like YOLO the marketplace. See when actually pays. And again, I do think the data point would be the law, the judgments. It's like, okay, Anthropic's paid, and there are licensing deals now. Like I think there's been several licensing deals, like New York Times, Reddit's done a deal. So it's like, could you kind of expand this out? Like, could you make it bigger? And so, because that's this whole point is like, like Cote.io is never going to be able to do a deal with OpenAI, right? But like if you just sign up for the service and you get like a few dollars a month, you're like, well, better than nothing.
Yeah.
All right. And I don't think the lawsuit was related to the fact that they were scraping like authors' websites. I think they had a stolen set of all the books that was just uploaded into an engine.
Yeah. It was
true.
It was yeah. There was just some other headline that, of course, I didn't read the story for that. I don't know which one. Maybe all of them just used some cache of YouTube videos.
Exactly.
To tear through, which I think is just like cool. Copyright. Love it. But yeah, such as the march of progress. I don't know. I messed that one up. Well, I think maybe there's a small topic before we close out. So I want to just ask you this, Brandon. Let's get in and out of this really quick.
All right.
And that is, there's been a lot of like Oracle. They had big earnings, and according to also the headlines that I read, I think it's because OpenAI gave them is signed up for like $100 billion or some absurd amount of money over some amount of time. So there's a huge chunk of Oracle Cloud. Maybe I'm way overdoing it, but it's some billions that like suddenly Oracle's cloud revenue is huge, big growth. And then of course, I think NVIDIA has something like five top accounts are account for a huge amount of its revenue, on and on and on. It seems like we've built up this thing where a huge amount of revenue for highly valued companies is basically down to OpenAI and Anthropic, I'm guessing, and maybe some other ones. And this seems not good. I don't know. It seems or maybe it's great. Maybe this is how it is. It's like you've got certain companies and they're B2B companies, and there's only so many Bs to go around. But like, what's your read of like, is this a good situation? Is it bad? Is it neutral? Like how does one manage that kind of business where you've got like 5 customers that account for like 80% of your existence, basically?
Yeah, I mean, I think some very good questions there. And just to kind of like give you one more data point here, so just to say, because Oracle, and I think I posed this question on the podcast before. It's like I always feel like, wow, this Oracle Cloud's growing like incredible, but I don't see it as much. Like I don't see it as much as I think I would. And this answers the question, and it goes back to say it's like Oracle's cloud infrastructure business, which will grow 77%. I'm gonna say that again, 77% this financial year to 18 billion, and another 8x in the next 5 years to reach 144 billion. Remember, AWS today is like 120 billion just by themselves, right? By fiscal year, which will end in May 2030. So it just comes down to it's TikTok and OpenAI. That is the bulk of this Oracle spend. So that answers the question of like, well, why don't I like, you would only see this if you're working on OpenAI and TikTok. So to your point, I guess I don't know if it's bad or good. I guess it's just incredibly concentrated bet. And I guess and it's sort of like as we keep going up the stack, it's like, well, we know Nvidia makes a lot of money because OpenAI and others are paying them. And now we know Oracle and some of these cloud vendors are making a lot of money because these LLMs are, taking up all this stuff. So the question is like, for this to keep going, at some point, the LLMs themselves have to make a ton of money. And today they don't. So it's like, I guess we're all collectively like, if you have any money in the stock market, I feel like we are all collectively betting on the LLMs will turn on some type of cash hose. Because if it doesn't happen, then this Oracle deal isn't going to happen, right? And they're going to lose significant revenue, and then it just kind of cascades down. So I don't know. So I think it is. So it's sort of, I forget the name of the person. I think most of this comes down to the Instacart CEO who was hired to build out the ad business, the products business, the money-making business overnight. It's like kind of most of the Western economy hinges on her and her team's building of something that like is insanely profitable. Because if it isn't, if it comes out and it's like, it turns out we can't make any money, it's going to, it'll flush down this stack very, very quickly. So
yeah, and it does. It explains why we're still in the first inning of the cloud game, because I guess only like 3 or 4 teams have have been doing something. So
it's nice that they've got 3 to 4 teams down to the game. There are 3 to 4 teams playing the same game in the first inning. It's a confusing sport here. But
you're making me think. I'm putting my private cloud marketing hat on, or I don't know, my slides, as it were. And I think one snarky reply about public cloud being a big deal is you can be like, yeah, for like 5 companies in the world, they're the ones who are fueling all this public cloud stuff, and everyone else, as everyone says, I think Thomas Kurian said recently that so many enterprises don't have their stuff in public cloud yet. It's very early. And so maybe it's just been TikTok all along this whole time. That's what's been fueling all this growth.
So funny. Finally, our viral videos are fueling the entire economy. Just what we wanted.
Yeah,
love it.
Yeah, that old Jammin' Bell there. All he's covering is TikTok's like infrastructure bill in his weekly stuff. I guess he covers SaaS, so that's not TikTok, as it were. Well, speaking of things that aren't TikTok. What are do we have any bureaucracy this episode?
Let's see a couple things. We got some listener feedback this week. So David recommends the book Careless People. I think Matt, you recommended that a while back.
Yeah, it's a good book.
I actually did listen to it not too long ago. So I was just going to give my 2 cents. It's an interesting book. I don't know if it's a great read, but just lots of weird stuff going on. Lots of weird stuff. And it got me thinking about I feel like maybe Cote, this is a newsletter for you, another newsletter for you. It's I just think once a week someone should take someone extremely successful and just write up like a weird thing that person is doing or has done. Like, so this week I would think of kind of related to tech, Steve
good.
Ballmer. Okay, Steve Ballmer, a former CEO of Microsoft and founder. So anyway, making it a long story short, he owns the Clippers. That's a basketball team in Los Angeles. And it looks like he's been accused of paying a player, if you will, outside the salary cap, right? So it's like, okay, so there are two possible answers. The two possible answers is like, one, he didn't know about it, or two, he knew about it and cheated. And you're like, huh, like if you were like the fifth richest person in the world and you owned a basketball team, like would you like cheat? Like why would you cheat on your basketball team? That's the whole point, is to like, because you're like playing a game. So I always think it's just like an interesting question. It's just like, so anyway, why do people do these kinds of things?
So
I don't
you're
get it.
saying a former Microsoft executive might have cheated at some point?
Right. Well, this is why I like these things. It's like I almost want to like call it. It's like everybody was a normal person at one time, and then occasionally certain people get extremely rich and crazy weird things happen, and it's just like they're kind of unexplainable. So it's like, so I feel like that could just be a weekly column. Like, and there's plenty of examples in the Careless People book, right?
This week I want to read about crazy Larry Ellison, because I've heard the stories, and
right,
he's been around
like you
forever.
would just be. Absolutely, Larry Ellison should be this week's topic. Like someone should be like, let's just.
I'm tired of Zuckerberg. I'm tired of Musk. Ballmer, he's been out of the spotlight for a bit. We'll let him have this week, but Larry Ellison's time to shine is now.
I love this. I love this reoccurring. I love this topic. Maybe we can trial a little bit here on Software Defined Talk. We could try every week. What's a weird.
Last week was Paris Hilton.
Yeah, we did have that. Like, just what is a weird, like, upper echelon tech person thing? We could go down to like the lower echelon every now and then, but I think probably every week we could just have the maybe between bureaucracy and conferences, we could have this week's weird thing from the tech world. It reminds me of I used to listen to this podcast, Election Profit Makers, which is kind of just a comedy podcast. And they had this segment called Bad Boy of the Week. And it would just be like some political nonsense or scandal, which could be the entire podcast episode nowadays. But we'd have, maybe we could call it Weird Boys, which it doesn't restrict it to male people. It's more just like, it's just the idea.
If
like,
I get to
weird folks.
Like it doesn't matter what gender you identify with. You can always be a weird boy. Like,
how about this? Y'all are weird.
Yeah, y'all are weird.
Yeah, I think you're right. I like that. Y'all are weird. All right, well, maybe we'll work on that. And finally, just as always, if anyone wants a sticker, to send your postal address to stickers@softwaredefinedtalk.com. I'm happy to send you a sticker anywhere in the world.
Well, there's lots of conferences coming up. I'll be speaking at many of them, which are most of the ones that I will highlight. If you want to see a full list of them, you can go to softwaredefinedtalk.com/537. Next week, I'm going to be finally giving what I hope will be a mostly new talk about doing platform engineering for AI stuff. Although I've been doing a lot of research, and it's very unclear what a platform engineer does for AI stuff beyond like better run a gateway. I think like run a gateway, that might be the first and last thing you need to do. But I don't know.
Backstage.
Yeah. Well said, Matt Ray. Maybe that should be the first slide I start with. Is I'll just have the Backstage logo, and I'll be like, I'm going to give you back some of your time. Anyways, I'll be giving that at the VMware user group in London next week on September 18th, and then at SRE Day London. Great conferences on that's September 18th and 19th. I'll be there on the 19th. Then there's a couple other conferences. I'll be at Cloud Foundry Day EU in Frankfurt on October 7th. And then the conference I'm looking forward to is AI for the Rest of Us, October 15th and 16th. Our software-defined world of podcasting, Whitney will also be there from Software Defined Interviews presenting. And we have a discount code for that. If you use SDT20, you can get 20% off of that. That's, of course, in London. It'll be a fun conference. You should go check it out. And then the Wiz Wisdom Conference in New York, November 3rd to 5th, and London, November 17th to 19th. And then finally, SRE Day Amsterdam, November 7th. Again, you can go to softwaredefinedtalk.com/537. There's 2 conferences I left off. You could go check out what they are. They're great ones. Now, speaking about things you can check out, Brandon, what do you have to recommend this episode?
This week, I wanted to recommend the Python documentary. So it's done by the same group that did, I think they did the JavaScript one and several, the Kubernetes one. I know they have a new name. I forgot the name of them, but it's good. It's I know obviously like everyone, I knew like some of the history of Python, but I didn't know all the details. So I thought one of the things I thought was interesting. So Guido, the founder of Python as we know it, and I guess the original benevolent dictator for life. Ultimately, he kind of, as in his own words, rage quit. And I was like, I kind of knew that, but I didn't know over what it was. So it was over the walrus. They call it the walrus operator. So it's basically an assignment expression in Python. Basically, you can assign a variable and then use it immediately, which I just thought like, man, this is like the most programming thing of all time. Like this broke this guy to the point is like, I am done with you people over this one change. So there's like lots of funny stories in there about it. So if you use Python today, or you like stories of like, where these things came from and all the crazy things that happened along the way, it's a fun watch. And I think it's free. I just watched it on YouTube. So, just go watch it. I don't think you have to pay anything. Enjoy it.
How about yourself, Matt Ray? What do you have to recommend?
So my recommendation this week is a nice feature that I'd kind of forgotten about. So I've got multiple computers, and I use just a little switch for changing my headphones between one computer and the other. With macOS, you can take your sound output from one computer and send it to another, and it just automatically mixes them. So I have like my personal computer has my music and stuff on it, and I can send the audio to my work computer, so I don't have to switch on the headphone switcher. It's kind of nice.
No,
it's simple, but it's nice. I don't know.
I like how you say it's simple. It's like it's awesome. I like how you're using the network cross it. Hey man, I've been there. I've done it. Well, that's good. That's excellent.
But it's one of those like kind of semi-magical experiences where you're just like, I've got two computers.
You're kind of like, oh, these people at Apple, they had the same problem. They fixed it. This actually works a lot better. I'm with you. I like it.
Their desktop sharing sucks, but the music works.
What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
It feels like there's almost an endless list of like these tiny little affordances in Mac OS and Apple World that you find. Like the last one. This is several years ago, but you remember when everyone discovered on the command line PV paste and PV copy, and they were like, amazing. And this was just like some life-changing events for people.
Now tell everybody, because there's a whole bunch of people that have never heard of it. Now tell them what they.
Well, that is where in the terminal, you could I guess you would do PV copy, so you could put something on the clipboard from the terminal outside of ancient Unix whatever the fuck land, and it would go into GUI land, and then you could guess PV paste the other way. It would access your GUI clipboard and put it in the terminal on the command line, and it was.
And here, Cote, you've changed someone's life today. I bet.
Wait. I got
someone's like they haven't done it. Someone's like, I had no idea that was possible.
Yeah.
So whoever you are, congratulations for
shit gets buck wild when
if you type open and the file name, it'll open the right GUI app.
I discovered that sometime in the last 6 months, and I was like, this is fantastic.
We should just do a whole episode of just like, here's random computers.
I don't
we know about.
I don't
Probably
think there's
the most
enough Mac
episode of the entire show we've ever done.
Yeah. There aren't enough Mac podcasts. I think we can corner that market pretty easily.
I think we should. Yeah. We should. We should be like, here's another one we learned. Turns out you can do this with CSV. Who saw that coming?
Maybe that would be a good. We're always trying to come up with new annual shows. The annual show could be like cool computer tricks and tips. Of the year. That
25 shortcuts that most everybody knows, but 10 people will be really impressed.
It could be the Mother's and Father's Day specials that we do. I think would be great. Well, I have two. One's kind of a recommendation, but I finally, of course I recommend this. I finally achieved lifetime platinum at Marriott, which is great. One day I'll tell the story of woe about how I probably will never achieve it on KLM. I was so close, but what are you gonna do? But this week. Maybe we'll get a picture, but to celebrate my lifetime platinum status, I now am the proud owner of 2 luggage tags that proclaim my lifetime status that they sent me for free. And I think they might be fine Corinthian leather. I don't think they're real, but they sure feel pretty good. I enjoy it. Now, my other recommendation, Brandon, I want you to get ready. I've been doing this in secret, but once again, I've been using Obsidian for like 2 months now.
Here we go, baby. Oh, here we go.
I don't know. I'm into it. I've been using it a lot. I've been putting time in. I got all my files in there. I mean, I've done this so many times I didn't have to do much work, but like I think I think I've got a good feel this time, Brandon. I think
what happened to notes?
I mean, just was it the graph paper? Was it the graph paper background?
No. Like I think I talked about this last time it happened. I don't actually use the Apple Pencil very much, like at all. So like I haven't used it. So I don't know. I just went for it. I'm checking it out for a couple months now. So that's what I got.
We look forward.
Secret shame.
We'll put that in the tips and tricks. Well, speaking of secret shames, you've once again listened to an episode of Software Defined Talk. This has been episode 537. You should go to softwaredefinedtalk.com/537. Make sure you're subscribed. Join our Slack channel. Participate in the conversation. Now, I mentioned it earlier. If you like this podcast, you'll also like Software Defined Interviews, which is, you guessed it, available at softwaredefinedinterviews.com. Every 2 weeks, we got an interview with people, usually like a tech-related person.
It's good stuff.
But true to the format of this, we don't talk about tech stuff all the time. And you got a whole new person that you can welcome into your life.
This week's episode is going to be Steve Ballmer. You're going to talk about the Clippers.
Oh, that would be amazing.
Way to line that one up.
Yeah. Well, I would get to be the one who's like, I'm relatively new to basketball, but one thing I've found out.
Love it.
All right. Well, and with that, we'll see everyone next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. Thanks for everyone hanging out. We have to let Matt go because he has to go take his kids. All right, Matt. Good luck.
Bye.
I'm waiting for him to come down the stairs. So.
Okay. Yeah. All right, Cote, we'll do a quick here. Obsidian. Here are the 6 key features. I want you to tell me which one is the most important to you. 1, it's markdown based. Is that important?
I like that. Yeah.
Okay. 2, linked notes. Is that important?
Yeah, linked notes is good.
3, graph view. Shows all your notes in a visual map. Are you using that one?
Oh, this is a tough one. I have not yet felt is utility the right word? I have not yet felt the utility of graph view, but it just looks pretty and it's fun. It's kind of like, I actually don't know if you're like this, Brandon. If you have like spatial object nostalgia and sentimentality, like, obviously my background, I have a lot of stuff, but like, I like going through my stuff and just being around it. And that's what you can do with the graph. But is it like useful in some way?
Okay. That one's not keeping it. That's kind of okay.
Yeah.
Offline first, store your notes locally on the device. Don't have to rely on cloud services. Is that good or bad?
Yeah. I mean, of course that's good. I mean, that's what they would call table stakes. Like,
all right. Well, then this is always a good one. Powerful search and tags. Are you using tags in this, Cote?
I'm gonna say powerful search. Yes, I use that. Am I using tags? I'm gonna say weak yes, because I don't really use tags. I used to use tags, but now I'm not quite there.
It's kind of rotated out. Tags, I feel like it's just they're too much work.
Yeah, and it is, at this point it is confusing using. It's hard to know when you should use a tag versus you should use a reference to a central note, right? So you might have, for example, you could say like, I have this note that is everything about VMware Explorer 2025. So if I'm talking about VMware Explorer 2025, do I link to that note or do I have the tag? Like, it's ambiguous, like when you use a tag versus people don't need to email me. As Brandon remembers, in 2003, I think I did a whole pitch about how we should have tags in the system.
Yeah, it was awesome. At the time, it was a new thing.
Right. So I know about tags and how you could come up with them. And it's just a matter of like, you got to kind of have a system with tags. I don't know. The difference between a tag and a keyword, difficult nowadays.
It's difficult. All right. Well, I just learned that it's part that Obsidian is part of the second brain, or I just learned this word, Zettelkasten style approach. I don't know.
That's right.
How do you say that word? Is that
I don't know how to pronounce German.
Looks maybe German. I don't know. A lot of consonants in there. So, all right. Well, listen. Everybody should wish Cote well on his Obsidian quest. I hope it goes well for him. Hope this
It's
is
gonna stick this time, Brandon. I'm not gonna fall off the Obsidian
man,
wagon.
Listen, we can only get up and try to do our best every day, and I wish you the best of luck on your Obsidian task. And I want to thank Henning for hanging in and watching us while we streamed. Enjoyed seeing some of your comments. And I want to thank everybody that's watching us later on the YouTube. And with that, we will talk to you.